So here's our in the search input objects. You can go there and then see the word input object. So it's possible to put it your input object like the OSM reference ID and wave, bridge, and tunnel and speed, and that is the basic the import. So in the search in there you can pass it like the OSM ID, OSM name and type and geom and limit and search limit. So this is the your input parameter to go to search for with this one. So here is the input definition. So I here the transformer because I pass it like JSON string to the objects as a JSON string and pass to this to convert to the object into the JSON string. So this is the converter. So it's convert automatically any objects. So this is the generic converter. So I pass it like any objects and it's returning me the objects as a string, as the JSON string, and pass it this JSON string to my input parameter. So here is our queries. So I see that this is the object and set the queries and pass the all such parameters and then do the queries and finally done. So this is the same thing, and so a query is done. The query is executing at this level. So you see the query executions and the logged in and connect call statement and execution statement, and then you set the output. Since the output is containing the same almost same informations depending on how the input and output is the same information. And then you get the result sets and then you iterate through the result set and build your output objects. And here is the settings for your output objects. So that means you have a result set, query give you the result set and put it the result set to the object. So this is the output definition. So you use insert you mapped you select the column names to your objects, different object attributes, and then see those information. So this is the more flexible way I try to handle, because I don't like to try to write more codes. So it's a general settings and general queries parameters, and then you call it and fit it in. Like if you don't do this way, then you have to write everything in the same query. But you lost not it is not a professional way. You lost a lot of times to write a lot of code. It's not optimum code. So it's the code is really optimized way to do those things. So the implementation, so you see the implementation for the road one, and the same thing is here for the buildings, and the same thing, the same query, and then so on and so forth. So land use, and the same thing, the same parameter settings and same different queries, and but the objects, the return and input object still the same. So your in parameter is the same and out parameter, out object is the same. So that means it's a nature as is still the objects is same thing, and then same here also. So you see the effect. So here is the definition, the implementation for all the services that you needed to expose your OSM dataset in the dataset as the REST APIs. So here is our interface data access interface definitions, and then this the implementation for those the interfaces, and here is our you see our object definitions, how many objects. For these projects I need only this four, the input TO and output TO and extended input TO after extended out and extended output to you and the road feature to you, because the road information input and output is different than the other fives or six or fives, and other TO definition for all my other projects to implement it. So here's the okay, we did our, and then we need to our service interface definition is the same thing as like your DAO interface definition, and we can just I copied it and then build it as a service interface definitions. Then need to build implement those services. So that's I say this is the most professional way to package or modularize your implementations. This is the most practical and professional way. You need to take care the exact way how we implement in professionally in daily basis. So we implement the interface definition is here. We implement our services, and then we call our, this is our in the where our DAO access, and we call it like service. So I call it the service, and service implementation is done. Pass it the parameter as a string, object as a string, and call the. So you can, this is the way then you have more control your development. So you can do anything here. So you through the exceptions, handle some extra business logic, put it in business logic in this level. So even though you can put it here this level also, to put it here this level, your business logic, part of the business logic, and but in the finally you can do the more business logic here, because you already have your data set in your call, and you handle it, which data has to be handled, how you can group it, how can you sort it, all types of processing, all type of business logic. Maybe you need to business logic, put it here. Okay, here we need to use those only those parameter, not more than that one. So maybe you can control by the users who is logged in the systems, and then you search it, or you can filter it your result sets and give you final results. So that means that's why the multi-level of layering of this implementation. So you have a control your access layer, and then you have a control your service layer. So that means all things has to be maintained properly. That means if something happen, some bug fixing, or then you can see very quickly where is the problem in the access layer, in the implementation layer, or in the service implementation layer. So you can very quickly fix it and see it. Okay, here is the, because it's a flexible, it's a dynamic settings to the implement this code. If you put everything here, even though you can go here and you can omit these two packages, and it will be rubbish to come up everything together. We cannot give the clean code. That means the idea was clean code and professional way to do this. That's why I did in the professional life, we did it like this way. So this is the proper structure way. So we need to follow those structures. So that means our implementation is then we define our DAO interface and implement our DAO, and then we define our services, and then we need to define our endpoints, the REST endpoints. So so normally I call it like the controller. So it's a controller. I call it like resource package. Under the resource package, you need a controller class. So this is the URL. So your machine name or whatever it is, and port number, and then you pass the URL and pass to the which type of you get me. So here the request mappings, and then here's the producer, the output. You can by default it's JSON output. You can go to whatever it is like to. So here is the either JSON and an XML is possible. So here's the REST body, and call it service, and you request parameters, because you pass the objects. There as an object as a string, JSON string, and pass the object and get the information, and pass the input result, the outputs. And this is the same thing as it is, because it's only for reading the data for the building your portal applications. So here's a call of the service, and here's the implementation, and you go to the implementation, and it goes to the implementation. Even though here we can go here, and then you can go to the DAO interface. So as it is, it's very simple, and it's a proper way to handle those information. But you need to be careful. This the part is the transformation, your object to JSON and JSON to objects. So this is information. So we pass the objects, and the transformation is did by the JSON string, and pass the JSON string to the query parameters, and did the query and get the results, and iterate through the results, and fit the record into the output objects, and then that's and so on and so forth. So that means all your resource definition is there. So buildings, and then land use, the same thing, and the different URL, and so on and so forth, and this all. So now our interface definition, the endpoint definition is done. So what we need to, because that's I say the last screencast, we need to server-side test to those APIs. Those first we can say those services. So what I did, just like I build an extra So by default, this automatically